Okay, Chapter 10, Section 3. What we're looking at here are how states spend their money. It's important to know that it can be different in different states, and as you move around, you're going to see quite a few differences. But they usually follow something along these lines, and we're going to be focusing on California because that's, our test kind of focuses on California. Our government in California is set up in the same, pretty much uses the same system as our federal government. The one major exception is the initiative system, and so we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so the way it usually works is there are two legislative houses in California legislature. There's the California Assembly, and there's more of those people than the Senate. Okay, so a senator in California covers more, a state senator actually covers more landmass than, say, a state assembly person. All right, so a proposed law or a bill must be approved in both houses in exactly the same wording, majority vote, before it goes to the governor. And then once the governor signs it, it becomes law. And you need to understand that your life is probably more affected by laws that come out of Sacramento in California and our state government than Washington, D.C. and our federal government. All right. Now, most states have what's called a balanced budget amendment, and it's, as it says there, a state constitutional requirement to balance the budget without borrowing to cover unanticipated revenue gaps. Well, the idea is we must spend within a certain budget, and if there's a sudden loss of money, then you'll see the government make mid-year cuts to the budget. All right, so we can't just borrow money. So because there's a balanced budget amendment, the way in which our state government deals with one-time big money, big spending items is they'll borrow the money for a quick infusion of cash through a bond. Okay, so you'll sometimes see that for like our schools, a bond. We had Proposition H and Proposition U to pay for funding to refix all of our schools here in Grossmont District. And the Grossmont District is an entity within the city, within the state. Okay, so it's a whole different level of government. Most of the money comes from the state. So when we pay our state taxes, they give money straight to the school districts. The districts themselves don't tax the citizens. The state does it for the schools. People in California, not all states have this, but California has an initiative system where people can propose, make a proposition, propose law, change to a law or change to our California state constitution. It's also known as a ballot measure, and a petition is just basically you get the text of the word of the proposed law, and then people sign a petition, and if you get enough signatures, a certain percentage of the number of registered voters, you can actually put a law on the ballot, a proposed law, and if a majority of the people vote for it, then it becomes law. And so this is an example of direct democracy. Usually we have something called representative democracy. In representative democracy, we vote for the people who make laws for us. In direct democracy, we ourselves get to vote on the laws. So California actually gives you a little taste of that. And it usually leads to a lot more spending. It's one of the reasons why California spends a lot of money. As you can see, education is huge in our budget. You can see this is all this amount. Whoopsies. All this amount, about half of our budget, more than half, that's all education. Okay, that whole chunk there. Okay, so this would be college, and this would be kindergarten through 12th grade, and that's quite a big chunk of the money. So when we look at all right, well, what else is there? Well, again, we have training to help people get educated so they can do a job. Um, Legislative, judicial, executive, these are just the different branches, the money they need to do their job. State and consumer services, they're the watchdogs that make sure that businesses aren't taking advantage of people. Transportation, buses and things like that, and housing. Again, they'll spend money to help people afford housing, all those kind of things. Health and human services, a lot of that is health care. Corrections, rehabilitation, that's a large percentage. That's prisons. That's just code for prison. So, this is where our government spends its money, our state government. Now, counties and cities also spend money. And like I said before, this is where you start to see differences in the different states. Um, if in California, the city will take care of just about all the services. Um, if there's no city, then the county will take care of it. So Spring Valley is a great example of that. So when you look at California, right, and then we have San Diego. There's our county. Well, the city of San Diego comes out, and again, zooming in on the county of San Diego. Okay, there's us. And there's San Diego, and you have Lemon Grove, and then over here you have La Mesa, you have El Cajon, Santee, you have Alpine out there, Poway, all those kind of cities, right? Well, these areas right here that aren't a part of a city, it's what we call unincorporated. It's not city. So Spring Valley is unincorporated. It's not a city. So that's why you see the sheriff, the county sheriff, in front of Monte Vista, because we're not a city. Okay? And so the money at the local level, police is obviously costs a lot of money to put police on the street, to make sure things are safe. But just certain things like, sewage, when you flush your toilet, you want the bad stuff to go away and to not kill you. And, clean water, making sure clean water is flowing into your house, making sure the trash, these are just basic things for sanitation. Clean water, getting dirty water away from you, getting trash away from you, that right there really cuts down on the amount of sicknesses we just kind of take for granted, these basic services. And in countries where those services aren't taken care of by the government, you see a tremendous amount of sickness and death due to those things. Okay, so a lot of our hospitals, while they're often run as businesses, our county will often put money into them to help them stay in business. So, for instance, if an unemployed person gets hit as they're trying to cross the street, they're going to call 911. They're going to bring it to the hospital. They're going to fix them all up, and obviously that person's not going to be able to pay. So the government puts in a little bit of money to help them cover those kind of losses. So parks and libraries and all that kind of stuff, firemen, our roads, a lot of that stuff is all state. Here you can see Lemon Grove, that's one of our closer cities, and we can kind of see their budget. And a little interesting trend here, 2012, this kind of reflects the tail end of a recession. When people are making less money, we can see that they reduce their budget to try to deal with the fact that when there's a recession, people are making less money. When people make less money flows into the government. It's an important thing to understand. The government, amount of money the government have is directly related to the earning capacity of that nation. If you just keep taxing people, then there's less money that people have, and then that's less money to government. So it's like you're tightening this noose that goes around a society as taxes get higher and higher. So there's a lot of theories as to how to help the system. A lot of this just comes down to the people themselves choosing to start businesses, choosing to hire people, choosing to give wage increases, raises, right? And all of those things bring more money into government, and then government has more money to spend. And so it's very difficult thing for most people to get their mind around, this idea that the government does not drive our economy. The role of the government in our economy is to make sure that for the most part the system is relatively fair.